He wrote the words that gave birth to a nation. All men are created equal. Philosopher, statesman, inventor, and the third president of the United States. But behind those titles was a man full of contradictions, a champion of liberty who enslaved hundreds. This is the story of Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was born on April 13, 1743, in Shadwell, Virginia, into privilege. His father, Peter Jefferson, was a respected surveyor and planter. His mother, Jane Randolph, came from one of Virginia's oldest and most powerful families. From a young age, Jefferson was curious, quiet, and deeply drawn to books. He loved the natural world, music, and science. At the College of William and Mary, he immersed himself in philosophy and Enlightenment thought. Thinkers like John Locke opened his eyes to the radical idea that all people had natural rights. Those ideas would follow him for life. After college, Jefferson built a career in law and politics. By 1769, he was elected to the House of Burgesses, where he stood firmly against British taxation and imperial control. His pamphlet, a summary view of the rights of British America, made waves across the colonies. It revealed his gift for words, sharp, persuasive, and fearless. He was no longer just another young lawyer. He was becoming a revolutionary voice. In 1775, war erupted. A year later, Jefferson, just 33 years old, was chosen by the Second Continental Congress to draft what would become the Declaration of Independence. For 17 days, he poured his thoughts into words that would change history. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. On July 4, 1776, the Declaration was approved. Jefferson's words became the foundation of America's promise, though one that even he would not fully keep. Jefferson's time as governor of Virginia was rocky. British troops invaded, and he was forced to flee Monticello when Benedict Arnold's forces attacked. Critics questioned his leadership, but Jefferson's service to the new nation didn't end there. Soon after, he was sent to France as America's ambassador. He absorbed French culture, admired its art and architecture, and watched as revolution brewed on the streets of Paris. When he returned home, he stepped into an even larger role, becoming the first Secretary of State under George Washington. There, Jefferson clashed fiercely with Alexander Hamilton. Hamilton believed in a strong central government and ties with Britain. Jefferson pushed for limited government, states' rights, and closer friendship with France. Their rivalry split the nation and gave birth to America's first political parties. In 1976, Jefferson lost the presidency to John Adams, but became vice president. 4 years later, in the bitter election of 1800, Jefferson finally won. The transition of power from Adams to Jefferson was peaceful, an extraordinary moment for a young republic, setting a precedent that still defines American democracy. Jefferson's presidency was bold. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubled the size of the United States. He sent Lewis and Clark to map the new lands and build ties with native tribes. He cut taxes, reduced government spending, and envisioned a nation of independent farmers spreading westward. But not all was successful. The Embargo Act of 1807, meant to keep America out of European wars, backfired, crippling trade and angering many citizens. Jefferson's second term was far less popular than his first. And then there was the contradiction Jefferson could never escape: slavery. At Monticello, more than 600 enslaved people lived and worked under his control. He wrote passionately about freedom, yet denied it to those he owned. His long relationship with Sally Hemings remains one of the most controversial parts of his story. Jefferson's life perfectly reflected the paradox of America itself, declaring equality while practicing inequality. In retirement, Jefferson devoted himself to architecture and education. He designed Monticello and founded the University of Virginia, believing education was the true safeguard of democracy. On July 4, 1826, exactly 50 years after the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson died at Monticello. Hours later, his friend and rival John Adams also passed away. Two revolutionaries, two legacies, gone on the very same day. Thomas Jefferson remains one of history's most complex figures. He gave America its creed of liberty and equality, expanded its land, and shaped its institutions. Yet he also left behind a legacy of contradiction: freedom for some, oppression for others. Thomas Jefferson was in many ways the embodiment of America itself, visionary and flawed, noble and imperfect. This is Thomas Jefferson, the philosopher of freedom and the paradox of the American Revolution. Thank you for watching Biographical Profiles. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, share it with someone curious about history, and don't forget to subscribe.
New stories from the past every week.